Dear friends, the first reading today taken from the book of Deuteronomy, the last of the 5 Pentateuchs, chapter 18. And here we find a prediction that was made by God that a prophet will rise from the kin of Moses. Now, Moses was a great leader. He brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt. He is the one who received the 10 commandments on Mount Horeb. He who prayed that these people may be sustained in the desert. He is the one who brought water out of the flint rock at the command of the Lord. And probably Moses was dying. And that's why we go to chapter 31, where God said to Moses that he will not enter the promised land, rather he will die. And consequently, in chapter 34 of this book, Deuteronomy, we have a clear indication that people were mourning of the death of Moses in the plains of Moab. And now what we understand here, Moses says to people, because you wanted a prophet like me. You know, we go back to Exodus chapter 20, verse 19, where there was fire, earthquake, smoke, thunder and lightning when God gave the commandments to Moses. And that is why people were watching from far away and they were terrified and afraid. And what did they tell to Moses? You know, we would not like to talk to God because this is really terrifying. You talk to God. You talk to God and communicate the word to us. We do not want to do anything directly with this terrifying God. And that was the promise that Moses handed over to the people. God will provide you a prophet after your own kin, and he will put the words into his mouth, and he will declare it to you whatever I speak to him. And then if anyone does not obey, I will hold accountable to him. And if anyone goes on proclaiming the word of another God in my name, that person will surely die. Dear friends, what do we understand from this? A direct connection to the New Testament reading, Mark chapter 1. Here we find Jesus entering into the synagogue with all authority and power. He was not preaching and teaching like the scribes did. His style was quite different. And that is why people were astonished at his teaching. Now, what do we learn from this? Dear friends, Jesus is the power. And that's why his word is power. And consequently, we need to learn, we need to listen to Jesus practically every day. It is not enough that we come for Sunday Mass and listen to the Gospel, receive the Holy Eucharist, and they say whole week, okay, now I am all set for the whole week, and next week I come back. We do not do it with regard to our food, right? I go home and take food on Sunday. I said, I am set for the whole week. I do not want to take food at all from Monday to Saturday. And then on Sunday I take my food. You know, we need to have that tremendous passion and love for the word of Jesus. It is not that you have to read the gospel every day, but then we need to have that spiritual sense to get astonished at the word of Jesus. Those parables, those stories, those comparisons, beautiful sayings of Jesus must enrich our daily spiritual life. That is what we call, dear friends, prayer life is that. You know, we need to enrich ourselves with the spiritual food that comes from the mouth of Jesus. Those people who were astounded, they were surprised because he was not teaching like the scribes and Pharisees did. His style was quite different, touching the hearts of people. Today, where we can find Jesus touching our hearts? We require in our daily life that strength, that power, that enthusiasm, that energy. From where do we get it? We get it from Jesus, provided we have that faith. And therefore, I recommend today, personally, when you go home, take Mark's Gospel, read those 3 first chapters. Very easy. You know, Mark in succession, rapid succession, he speaks about Jesus' baptism, Jesus going to the desert, and Jesus entering the synagogue, Jesus healing this demoniac, casting out the unclean spirit. Then Jesus going to the house of Peter. He heals the mother-in-law of Peter. People bring sick people around the house. He heals them. Then he goes to pray, then comes back. Again, a paralytic is brought. And then we find people were astounded. People were touched by the power of Jesus. Now this man with the unclean spirit, he shouts aloud, Jesus, what have you to do with us? He does not say, Jesus, what have you to do with me? You know, there is a plural word used here. What have you to do with us? We know who you are. We know who you are, the Holy One of God. Dear friends, when we think about the unclean spirit, if you read the 3rd chapter of Mark's Gospel, we find another occasion Jesus cast out the evil power. And the Pharisees and scribes coming from Jerusalem, they criticized Jesus, saying that he is casting out the devil with the power of Beelzebul. Have you heard of this word Beelzebul or Beelzebub or Beelzebul? It is the king of the demons. We can find a reference in the book of 2 Kings chapter 1 verses 2 to 3. This particular god, Beelzebul, was worshipped at Ekron. He is a Philistine god called the Lord of the Flies. The Lord of the Flies, because people were worshipping flies, and flies are identified with all kinds of pests during that time. Even today, when there are plenty of flies, they bring sickness and they infect people, and consequently every evil that was in the society connected with the flies was attributed to Beelzebub or Beelzebul. There is another connotation to Beelzebul. It is called Baal-zebub. Prophet Elijah, who massacred all those prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. So that's called God Baal. So Baal-zebub is identical with Beelzebub. So that is the prince of the demons. Now, Jesus is powerful to cast out that unclean spirit. What does he say? Be silent, come out of him. Silence where we find out where is evil. Silence brings us to the understanding of evil. Where there is noise and sound, we cannot identify evil. And consequently, in the Old Testament, we hear in the Psalm, be still and know that I am God. We need to be still. We need to be silent. And that's why, what is silence? Silence is not dead silence. Silence is of the mind, and silence is of the heart. And that can be acquired through our personal prayer. Dear friends, prayer is so important in our lives. Today, Oliver will be baptized. It's the responsibility of the parents to teach little Oliver to pray. Today, in this world, we have lost the significance of prayer. We have other significance. We give such an importance to television programs, browsing through our smartphones and iPads and mass media. We are so much interested, and we are out and out and out and out. We do not go in. We do not go in. And where are the troubles? They are not outside. We always say, oh, troubles are outside. No. Troubles are deep inside our heart. If there is an upheaval going on, if there is a trouble going on, if there is a problem going on, there is something wrong in the inside. And in order to overcome that problem, whenever we are sick, what do? We cannot repair our sickness. We cannot bring health by our own. We need to go and see a doctor. And what does the doctor do? In that silence, he discovers what is wrong with you. He does not put a sound box. He does not put a noise there. In that silence, what does he do? He touches you. He finds out where is the wrong. Goes deep within you. Finds out where is the wrong. Dear friends, in order to find out the troubling situations in our life, we need to delve deep into our hearts. And that is called, when Jesus said, "Be silent, come out of him." Silence brings us healing. In this world of buzz and noise, we require that silence. When we are silent with the Lord, that is what we call prayer life. On one occasion, we know, when someone came to the disciples to cast out an evil spirit, the disciples were not able to cast out. When Jesus came down from Mount Tabor, Jesus was asked to cast out the demon. And Jesus healed that man, and people asked, "Why couldn't your disciples do it?" Jesus said, "This type can be cast out with prayer and fasting." This type is cast out with prayer and fasting. Dear friends, we as Christians, we have a tremendous obligation to cast out evil from our heart. And how we can cast out? With the power of God, not with our own power. Everything that is evil, evil I consider is not our sinfulness. Sinfulness we have all. We fall, we make mistakes, we are weak. Someone walks across the road and falls into a pothole does not mean that person is weak. He did not see the pothole and he falls into it. That does not mean that person is bad, but he fell into a pothole and injured himself. That is what we call sinfulness. But evil is knowingly, willingly, consciously, I am trying to do evil to the other person. That is evil. And that evil must be cast out from our life. Any type of evil, for that matter, comes from the evil one, that is the devil. Now, today we may think, where is the devil? Who speaks about devil today? Where is evil today? Well, we can find out why there was a bomb blast in Kabul where 95 people died. What is it? Is it good? That is the basic evil in the human heart. Hurting someone willingly, killing someone willingly, doing some evil willingly and knowingly and consciously comes from the evil one. Therefore, dear friends, we require God's power to cast out evil from our lives. The second one is, we have a responsibility as baptized Christians to cast out evil from our family. Now, in this free society, dear friends, very often we might think that, that is not my responsibility. Let him do, let her do whatever she likes. We close our eyes. That is not my business. As Christians, dear friends, freedom does not mean that you allow someone to do evil. That should not be. In true conscience, if you really find that someone is really doing evil, you and I have the responsibility of, in some way, stopping that evil. You cannot just say, I am living in a free society, let each and everyone do whatever he or she likes. That is not Christian. That is not being the follower of Christ. We have to cast out evil from our families. And then, certainly, we will have that courage and strength to cast out evil from the society. It is not enough to keep on blaming our politicians and leaders. We have to ask a fundamental question: what you are doing, what am I doing to overcome evil in my surrounding and in my society, in my family, in myself? Dear friends, this is the great responsibility we have today. When we look at here the person of Jesus, he cast out evil and he came to liberate the society, liberate people, bring freedom to people, means that he had that tremendous mission to establish God's kingdom here on earth. And that is what we mean. I have been anointed, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bring good news to the poor. And the obligation is not only refrain from doing evil, casting out evil from our lives, but positively involving myself in bringing goodness in my society, in my community, in my neighborhood. Therefore, dear friends, as we meditate on this gospel passage today, connecting it to the first reading from Deuteronomy, let us ask the Lord to empower us, to enrich us with the spirit of the gospel, the joy of the gospel, to do good and to promote love, harmony, peace and joy in our community and in our society. Let us ask for this grace during this Holy Eucharist. God bless you.